Hello to my water signs, Cancer and Scorpio and Pisces. This is your horoscope for the Taurus new moon, a break in the waves. You'll find the timestamps for your rising sign listed below. Hello Cancer rising, this is your horoscope for the new moon in Taurus, happening on the 20th of May at 1:55 a.m. if you're in the southern hemisphere with me. But before we get into that, I want to invite you to a little online ritual that I'm hosting on June the 4th to celebrate the Sagittarius full moon. For me, as a Pisces rising, Sagittarius rules my 10th house of my career and my legacy, my most public face. And I thought it kind of pertinent at this stage in our relationship, if you've been watching my horoscopes for some time now, to give you a little backstory as to what led me to this point in time right now, why I am so invested and engaged in the tarot and in astrology, languages that I was always sort of unconsciously very familiar with and would sow into the work that I used to do, or the many different jobs that I used to do, but why it was so important for me to be so blatant about it moving forward. So there'll be a little bit of story time, and then we'll get to sort of virtually link hands and enjoy the Sagittarius full moon together. So if that sounds interesting to you, then there's a link in the description box below. You can register your place at the party, and I will send you the Zoom link to attend when we're ready on the 4th. So if that sounds interesting to you, you can do that. But otherwise, let's get straight into the reading, because this feels gorgeous to me. This new moon in Taurus is something that we've been very patiently and diligently waiting to have happen. The dragon's head and the dragon's tail have been gobbling up our sense of community and friendship and coming together, that sort of sense of belonging and almost like our sense of humanity itself, you know, the human species, and also our individual self-expression in that mix too. We've been feeling kind of maybe a bit silenced, or there's been things that we've had to really let go of at this time in order to keep the lid on what's been going on in our 11th house, our sense of community. We've had no say in it because the dragon's head and the dragon's tail have been gobbling. But the dragon's head is farther enough away from the sun and the moon at this lunation that there's no fear of eclipse, there's no interception. And so we get to, like every other new moon, we get to initiate. We get to ask for what we hope to see have happen. So I want you to focus in on your sense of community and belonging, your sense of friendships, friendship circles, collaborations, all of that kind of thing. There's a real mirth to the 11th house. I think in some of the descriptions of the 11th house, it means the house of good fortune. So that's beautiful. That's something that you can sort of, or good spirit as well, I think, is the Hellenistic. So think about those environments where you feel like really welcome, really available to be yourself, really juicy and productive, and use this new moon to make those wishes, to use the energy that's left on the earth. We won't see the moon, it's a new one, so it's black, fresh. And we get to use what's here. And we get to start to think about what we want our community to look like. So there's that. There's also 3 planets that are forming this incredible pressure, sort of before, during, and after this new moon. There's a lot of activity. There's a lot of sort of planets changing sign, and there's a lot of squares happening. So this is all playing out in the fixed signs. So keep that sort of energy in mind. Fixed. It's Aquarius, it's Leo, it's Taurus, it's Scorpio. That sort of feet dug into the ground kind of feeling. That's what all the fixed signs are really good at, like going the distance, right? So Jupiter, the planet of optimism and good fortune, like the 11th house, expansion, has just entered your 11th house. So Jupiter's going to be at 0 degrees of Taurus. And when they do that, they form a square with Pluto, who has just entered Aquarius. Remember, this is a long game story we're talking about. But 0 degrees to 0 degrees is a pressure point. The day after this new moon, the planet Mars, who's much quicker, Mars changing signs isn't, it's not going to bring the house down, but a square might, and an opposition might. So Mars, the planet of aggression, anger, fire, has entered Leo, fixed fire. So at 0 degrees, we'll be forming an opposition with Pluto. So think about that. Mars, butch, aggression, fire, anger, in opposition to Pluto, the lord of disintegration. It's pretty powerful stuff. But I think looking at this in this square with Jupiter, Jupiter's bigger than all of them. Jupiter's the big planet made of gas with the red beauty mark. Jupiter's like, everyone, I'm holding court. So let's use Jupiter in your 11th house as the point of, like, the anchor point to this square. The first decan of Taurus, where 0 degrees of Taurus is, where Jupiter is, the tarot card for that is the 5 of Pentacles. So let's really investigate this in relationship to your sense of belonging, shall we, Cancer? Have you been feeling lonely or separate from a sense of community? Maybe that existed before, but maybe not. Maybe it's just this lingering feeling of like, oh, I really missed that collaboration. I really missed that collective feeling that we had. We were all working on something together and it was really beautiful, but I'm not welcome in that anymore. You can see the 5 of Pentacles. There's this warmth behind that stained glass window. There's that sort of beautiful glow. But these folks, see, they don't feel welcome anymore. They're either ostracizing themselves or they've been a bit ostracized by the party that's going on inside. So this could be you feeling a bit out of step with community or a bit lovelorn, or it could be you can recognize there's some people maybe in what you consider to be your community that are feeling a bit left out, that are feeling a bit cast adrift or cast aside. So at this time, at this new moon, it'd be great to include them in your wishes too. In your new moon ritual, you can include those that you can see are suffering a little bit, that feel that they're not as welcome as maybe they once were. So that's Jupiter doing all of this beautiful stuff. You can see these pentacles here. It looks really warm. It looks candlelit on the inside of this building, this church, this cathedral. It feels lovely. It's snowing outside. Here's poor folks, no shoes, limping on a crutch. I wonder if they need to be welcomed back in, Some people need to be welcomed back in. Some people don't have the confidence to come bolshily sort of marching back in. We all carry different pain in different ways. And so if you can recognize that in someone and recognize that, in your beautiful Cancerian self, that's emotional initiation for you, your cardinal water. So you can be like, no, it's okay. Actually, here's the peace pipe, proverbial. Here's the talking stick. Come, let's get back together. That's a nice. This is all painting a beautiful story in your 11th house, Cancer. So let's talk about the other planets. So we've got Jupiter in Taurus, 5. The 5 of Swords is Pluto in Aquarius. So Aquarius is your house of investment with another. It's how our finances are intertwined with somebody else's. It's how we sort of sign the proverbial contract, and this could be like a really emotional sort of like relationship bond. This could be a financial agreement where your resources are wrapped up in somebody else's. So this is the beginning point with Pluto. Remember, Pluto takes ages to move. Pluto's going to be going back into Capricorn. So we'll have a break this year, but then next year they're coming back into Aquarius and they're going to be there for 20 years. So over the next 20 years, there's going to be a disintegration and a rebirth about how your resources are structured and interwoven with other people. There might be some grief in there too. The 8th is a tricky customer. There can be some really intense feelings of grief and loss that occur in the 8th as well. This I see as the swords being our thoughts, our mind. This is like drop the chop, forget this, I'm not engaging in this. This is done with now. You don't talk to me like that. I'm out. You can see these two characters here are like, nah, forget it. Forget it, I'm not playing anymore. This character here is collecting all of the swords, the barbs, but they don't look victorious to me. They look pretty embarrassed. So what I guess we can sort of have a look at here is like when rebuilding community, or when sort of like, refining our sense of belonging and collaboration and, looking for a bit of good fortune and happiness, there might be some conversations that come up with, folks that there was that signage on the bottom line, the dotted line, and there might be some confronting things that are said, but you're going to feel kind of almost protected by Pluto, that you don't do that anymore. You don't have to censor yourself. You do have, you know what to do, Cancer. You know how to get to the quick of it, right? I don't have to give you a lesson in, propriety. You're not going to run anyone's through. We're going to rake anyone through the coals to hurt them. Absolutely not. But you're also not going to accept bad behavior any longer, right? The other card is the 5 of Wands. Now look at that, 5, 5, 5. That's change. Things are shifting, babe. They're moving. Not going to be the same as they were anymore. And this 5 of Wands, this sort of like sparring match, the wands are magical tools. It's sort of like practice is what I see here in this 5 of Wands. It's like preparation for the battle rather than the battle itself. It's like testing the skills, testing the magic tricks. And so this is your second house, your house of money, finances, autonomy over your own shit. The 8th is interwoven with other people. The 2nd is my shit. This is what I do. This is how I get it done. And so what I see here is like this feeling of like, longing for the community again, or longing to go back to, back to the garden, Joni Mitchell. It's like, yep, you're welcome here. You're absolutely welcome here. And we're going to really bone up and refine how you can take care of yourself too. How you can contribute to this thing with your magic in particular, and not feel so kind of bound or duty bound to that of the other. I really like this, Cancer. I love this moon for us. Now, having said all of that, there is going to be one final eclipse in October in Taurus. So this we can consider like a clearing, like a rest stop, like a sort of like moment of like regrouping and preparation, and being like, yes, 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 think of my community, think of my collaborators, think of my friendships, what friends do I really miss and, want to bring back into my world. But as the person I am now, and sort of working from a place of contribution, that maybe is different to the way that it was before. Maybe you're not going to be limiting yourself so much now, and you're not going to be taking any shit from people anymore as well. It's different now. There are contracts, spiritual or otherwise, that we feel that we've signed. They can be put through the shredder as well. That's the truth. So think about that. But then there's going to be the final lunar eclipse in Taurus in October. So we'll see, the final grand reveal of what our community, in November we can regroup and be like, okay, so what happened? What happened in community? Let's think about that, Cancer, and let's talk about the results too. You can send me a comment in the comment section below, or we can, let's actually, I want to give these horoscopes. I want to feel the results of them as well. I want to see what happens, what shows up for you. I'm going to pull you one more card, I reckon, just to put a stopper on this story. I've been reading the same cards for everyone, but that's the beauty of tarot. The storytelling is endless. There's a pattern to be found. There's a pattern to be found, and don't you worry, I'm the babe to find it. Yeah, this is like, golly gosh. This one card has been chasing me around. I don't know if this is the 3rd, 4th, or 5th of these readings, and it's like I don't need any other card. This is the 10 of Swords. This is the end of a really difficult cycle. Swords, our mentality, our intellect. The truth, what's been said to us, words. The 10, there's no card that comes after the 10. This is a wrap. We're wrapping this leg of the journey up. The sun is coming up behind those swords. That beautiful pink new day. So whatever has happened, whatever has needed that final stab in the back or that final whatever, over, done with. This eclipse in October in Taurus is going to be that last final hurrah. And it might be like a jolt to the system, and you might be like, holy shit, all of that stuff that I wished for and focused on with Uma in May, it's showing up now. And this is the way I like it. This is what I set out to do in the first place. This is why I'm building this life, is for community, is for friendship. And this is how it looks. And I don't accept this any longer. This is over. This was a hard truth to accept. God, it hurt, but I get it. I understand. And now it's finished. And the new cycle can begin. All right, Cancer, that's your reading. Much love to you. Head to Uma Ruby, get your birth chart read by me. You can pick a fire, earth, air, or water reading. Or if you wanted to get into the sort of more esoteric specifics of your rising sign, then you can book the spirit reading. And I can open up my witch tomes and get a little bit metaphysical and psychedelic with my language in describing your rising sign to you. Tips are always welcome at buymeacoffee.com/Uma Ruby. And if you'd like to accept my invitation to ritual, then follow the link in the description below and book yourself a place at the Sagittarius full moon ritual in 2 weeks. I will be releasing horoscopes for that lunation too, so don't you worry. If you can't make the ritual, you'll have horoscopes to look forward to. But I love you very much, Cancer. You the best. And I'll speak to you soon. Book your place, self a place at the ritual. See you later. Hello Scorpio rising, and welcome to your horoscope for the Taurus new moon happening on the 20th of May at 1:55 a.m. if you're in the southern hemisphere with me. Now before we get into the horoscope, I wanted to invite you to ritual. In 2 weeks, on June the 4th, I'm going to be hosting a full moon ritual for the Sagittarius lunation on Zoom. And in it, I'm going to be sharing with you a little bit of my journey so far, what work I have engaged in and what worlds I rolled in that brought me to this place and time, and why I find tarot and astrology so valuable for myself, for a tool of self-development and self-acceptance, and also as just something that I'm fully obsessed with and can find the links and hooks and synchronicities with all of the other work that I did so far. In my chart as a Pisces rising, Sagittarius rules my 10th house of career and public face. So I thought that it might be a beautiful moment to be a little bit more intimate with you and let you know who I am behind all of the glamour. So if that sounds nice to you, we'll also be engaging in a live ritual for the moon too. I think I've got it written down as going for 2 hours. You don't have to stay for the whole time. But yeah, if that sounds lovely, then head to the link in the description below and you can book yourself a place at the gathering. Now, okay, with that being said, let's get into this reading because it's a really good one, Scorpio, speaking of Taurus. But I really feel quite gorgeous about this lunation for you. It's been such a tricky time, 18 months, eclipses in your first house of the self, your soul's intention, and your 7th house of relationships, your love, your nearest and dearest. To have this sort of push and pull between these two houses is not without its real difficulty, and you've done so well to get to this point. You should be very grateful and proud that you are who you are and that you can stand by that. You can have the confidence of your convictions and really know that this is who you are and this is what you stand for, what you believe in, and that you're a really good person. Yeah. But let's have a little think about Taurus. Let's have a think about the 7th and the idea that this lunation is not an eclipse. The dragon's head, the dragon's tail in your first house, but the dragon's head is further enough away from the sun and the moon at 28 degrees of Taurus that there's no interception, there's no eclipse. So what do we do at a new moon? We initiate, we ask for it, we look into that part of our chart and we think to ourselves, what do I wish to have happen in this area of my life? What do I wish for my relationships to look like? How can I bring beauty and pleasure and a languid sense of enjoyment to my relationships, the people that I hang out with? How can this work for me? How do I see it? What does it look like? And I'm going to bring that into a sense of reality. At 28 degrees of Taurus, the tarot card for that is the Seven of Pentacles. So you can see this sort of feeling of like waiting, kind of longing, hoping that we've done the right thing. Kind of maybe thinking to ourselves that we maybe have done the wrong thing. I've done all this work, I'm planting, I'm like willing things to grow. They're not kind of bearing fruit just yet. Will I be waiting forever? The thing about Taurus is, though, Taurus always reminds us to take it slow. And that could be pleasure. That could be the journey of a relationship. But you've got to take it slow and know that what's coming for you won't pass you by. There's a great sense of like languid sort of sensuality, like anticipation. If you look at this card in a different way, this poor character is a bit fed up. It's a bit red in the face and sort of like, oh God, I've been, self-care, self-work, self-help. Great. Yep. I've got that all in line. I'm waiting for someone, or I'm waiting for this relationship to show itself to me, to show me the same care that I'm giving out. That could be something that might be happening for you as well with these eclipses. But remember, a new moon initiation, we get to ask for it. So I want this sort of like lesson in patience to kind of really hit home for you, Scorpio. Don't rush. Don't rush life. We've been sort of programmed and trained to hurry up, haven't we? It's pretty wild to be living in the year 2023 and just the sort of like the quick turnover of any moment, You want to be really naff and just relate it specifically to social media or to like, a YouTube feed, whatever it is. It's like this continual sort of like, okay, what's next? This idea of like things being broken down into like those shorts. Like I think I put 2 up there. I can't work them out. I've got a TikTok. I put up the snippets of these horoscopes to try and get people to watch them. I can't look at it though. It's just this quick, like it's too much. We're all being taught to hurry up, to, get the let out. We can't. Take it slow. It's what Taurus wants you to do, especially in your like intimate relationships. Be curious, be sensual, be calm about it. Not everything has to happen yesterday, That's one thing. Now this is quite a specific message and it might not hit home for all of you, but specifically if you were born like quite close to when I was, so in 1984, at the beginning of the year in 1984, you and I might share a Chiron placement. So I've got Chiron in Taurus at 28 degrees. Now I'm a Pisces rising, so the house system is different for me on my chart. But what I'm looking forward to at this new moon is a cooling salve to perhaps some of my really ingrained wounds around lack and around loss. To have Chiron, the asteroid, the planetary body that signifies unconscious wounding, and to have that in Taurus, which is the sign that is about bounty and about the fruits of the earth, that wound points to this idea of like this continual feeling of not having enough or not being enough, not having the skills to provide or grow anything. And it's a hard one, especially when you've got so much love to give, which you do, Scorpio. You're a water sign. Bit chilly every now and again, but underneath it all, There's a lot of depth and a lot of beautiful sensitivity. And so if you've got this wound in Taurus, if you're 40 or nearly 40, in your 7th house, we put that extra layer onto it. So it's sort of like, okay, loss, lack in relationship. If your Chiron placement's in your 7th house, then this new moon is going to be really gentle with that. It's going to really provide you with some opportunity to open some of those doorways into finding a greater sense of healing. Now, there's also, in conjunction with this, sorry to be so specific, and it's kind of, if you were born in this year specifically, but yeah, I mean, Chiron moves like 50 years around the zodiac. So, but this is an exact conjunction, this new moon. So I'm looking forward to it, to see what might show up, some further to kind of feeling of like, forgiveness, so we can feel so responsible for not measuring up with a Chiron in Taurus placement. And a new moon in conjunction with that is forgiveness. That's a great word for it. Let's have a look at the other planets though. So at 28 degrees is the sun and the moon for this new moon. At 0 degrees is Jupiter. Now this is a beautiful, bountiful, open-hearted energy that's just entering Taurus now. It hasn't been in Taurus since the year 2011, I think. It takes Jupiter about a year in each sign to go around. So we're looking forward to about 12 months of optimism and of can-do attitude in your 7th house. And I can't think of quite a better kind of follow-up to eclipse season, right? Is like, don't worry everyone, it's Jupiter. What's happened? Let me sort it out for you. So at 0 degrees of Taurus, the tarot card for that is the 5 of Pentacles for that first decan of Taurus, as opposed to the 7th, which is the final decan. And so look at this feeling of like dejection, of being left out, of something really warm and comforting. Look at this. Is this you, or is this perhaps you can see there's people in your friends, your nearest and dearest circles that need a little bit of your loving care at this time, Scorpio. Either way, Jupiter's here to rectify this card for you, to really kind of allow you to admit it, that maybe you've been feeling like defective in love or defective in relationship, or you can recognize those that you care about, they've been feeling that way about themselves. But Jupiter's here to bring that juiciness, to bring that sort of optimism and clarity as well. Jupiter's there's a clarification that happens with Jupiter as well. So that's really nice. However, at 0 degrees of Taurus, we form a square with 0 degrees of Aquarius, the other fixed sign, one of the fixed air sign of the zodiac. And who's hanging out there? Pluto. Pluto is retrograde at the moment and will be moving back into Capricorn, but is still existing at 0 degrees of Aquarius as we speak, as this lunation's taking place, as Jupiter hits the 0 degree point of Taurus. And so a square between this energy and this energy, the 5 of Swords, is really interesting to me. Now for you, Aquarius rules your 4th house, which is your home, your sense of roots, stability, and privacy. And so we know that we're at the very beginning stages of a revolution that's going to occur in that space for you. There's going to be some things that disintegrate, that fall apart in order to be reborn again, stronger and fresher and newer than ever before. But this is a long protracted period. Pluto takes 20 years in each sign. So it won't be this sort of potency at all times, If you've got planets in Aquarius, I'd sort of make note of where they are, because those transits can bring about some really, really profound results. But this square between Pluto and Jupiter, so your 7th and your 4th, there's a pressure. It's almost as if so the swords are our mentality, right? They're our thoughts, or they're what's been said to us. There's a real, moving away from that bullshit. In this card, you can see these two characters have their swords down. They're like, no, we're not playing, fuck this. We're out of here. This character's collecting all of the swords, but they're not victorious. bit of a bit smug, but also by themselves. What are you going to do with 5 swords? You know, like, what are you going to... Great, you got a collection now. Awesome. No one to play with. So this is the feeling that's sort of going and, you know, emerging in the 4th house maybe, or it could be the way that you're sort of thinking about your relationship with your ancestors, your relationship with a sense of security and of nurturing. And you're like, I'm actually moving away from that thought process. I'm ending that cycle because I want to start something beautiful, and I want to get over this feeling when I come into relationships. I don't wish to feel that I'm not good enough or I'm not worth it because of the way that I was, you know, programmed to think this way by my experiences in relationships gone by. The other aspect to this tryst, it's quite full on. The day after the new moon, so on the 21st of May in the southern hemisphere, Mars leaves Cancer and enters Leo. And so at 0 degrees of Leo, there's Mars. So fire on fire in your 10th house of your career, your public self, what you wish to be known for. So I would take this as like a jolt of inspiration, and also a bit of a hurry up maybe. So Mars in your 10th is the 5 of Wands. And so this is a sparring match, but this is like practice. Look at all those magical tools. It's sort of like, it's sort of like combat practice is what I see when I look at this card. So relate that sentiment to your career, your most public self, your legacy. What you wish to be known for is having this jolt of like emphasis on it right now as well, Scorpio. And it's in square with your relationships. So Jupiter's sort of like, how can we end this bullshit at home? How can I harness that fire of Mars in my 10th house and bring it into my relationships? There seems to be like, there needs to be something that needs to be worked out between what it is you do for a living, not what it is you do for a living, your legacy, your most public self, your career. We don't all earn money from our career or like our what we wish to leave behind. A lot of us have to have 2, 3, 4, 5 separate side gigs to pay the rent and then focus in on our 10th house. A lot of creative people, the 10th house doesn't earn you shit. That doesn't make it any less valuable in your life. You know what I mean? But this is the sort of dance that we're sort of having with your relationships, your home, and your legacy. And there's a lot of sort of bullshit kind of like, Mars and Pluto are a bit butch, sort of feeling of like confrontation. But Jupiter in your 7th is sort of like, I'm here to heal, and I wish for Scorpio to engage in healthy, bountiful, pleasurable, sustainable relationships from now on. And so to do that, there's got to be some respect for Scorpio's 10th house, their career, their legacy, what they wish to be known for. And there's got to be some friggin' respect at home and on the bloodlines, on the ancestral lines. You might not even know where you came from, and that's all right. I'm talking about like this sense of like belonging. If the 10th is public, the 4th is private. You deserve that space to be really protective of you. And so Pluto's going to start changing things over this next bit of time. So that's your reading, Scorpio. I'm looking forward to it, and I think that it's a really nice way to, crescendo this eclipse season. Having said that, there is one more lunar eclipse in Taurus. I know it's confusing. There's going to be a lunar eclipse in Taurus in October, because the lunation will be close again to the dragon's head. So I think by that point the dragon's head's going to be in Aries, but it's still going to be close enough to this lunation in Taurus to be gobbled up. And so we'll witness it. If you want to go out and have a look at it, the jury's still out on that. Some people really don't. They don't pay him no mind. I know it's sort of quite common for people to, spy the eclipses and everything, but just have a think about last eclipse season and all of the malarkey that happened there. So this isn't a warning, like you can do what you want, but You'll integrate and interrelate with the eclipses the way that feels comfortable for you. But one more in your 7th house, so one more final deluge / release. There's going to be a surge to that part of your life. It's going to be really important, and you're going to rise from it, Scorpio. You're going to be like, this is how I relate. It's taken me a while, but I love it, and I really get it, and I feel really fed by this. So yeah, that's your reading. Head to umaruby.com, book yourself in a birth chart reading with me. You can also send me some tip money at buymeacoffee.com/umaruby. And if you'd like to join me in ritual in 2 weeks on June 4th for the Sagittarius full moon, you'd be so welcome. Head to the link in the description below and book yourself a place at the gathering. Until then, I'll speak to you on the ether. Much love to you, Scorpio. Take care. Bye. Hello, Pisces rising. Welcome to your horoscope for the new moon in Taurus, happening on the 20th of May at 1:55 a.m. if you're in the southern hemisphere with me. But before we continue, I would like to invite you to ritual. So in 2 weeks, we're going to be having a full moon in Sagittarius. Now, for us Pisces rising, this lights up our 10th house of career and most public perception, our legacy, what we wish to be known for. And I thought it pertinent, seeing as how I've been reading for you for some time now, to have a little gathering on Zoom and to come together at the time of the full moon and to release, to let out, to set it free, what we need to at that Sagittarius full moon together, and also for me to share with you a little bit about my story up to this point in relationship to my career and my legacy. All the different sorts of work and jobs that I engaged in over time that have led me to this point in particular and have informed the work that I'm doing now, and also in a strange way how this work had informed all of that too. And I was maybe perhaps unconscious of it rather than so conscious of it as I am now. So if that sounds good to you, I mean, I've advertised it as being lasting for 2 hours. You don't have to stay for the whole time, but I thought that it would be a good languid time to have a chat, get to know one another, and share stories, and also engage in active ritual together rather than apart. So if that sounds good to you, there's a link in the description below and you can sign up for that ritual on the 4th of June. Anyhow, let's get into this horoscope for the new moon in Taurus, because this is a really beautiful one for a multitude of different reasons, but let's have a think about it. So the dragon's head and the dragon's tail in Taurus and Scorpio over this last 18 months now has been short-circuiting our 9th house of mind expansion, philosophy, pilgrimage, journeying to fill the soul, astrology, philosophy, you name it. It's all in the 9th house. Also, our 3rd house of our local environment, our village. Where is our neighborhood? Where's the hedge witch? Where is she? I need to go and get my cards read by her. What lessons am I absorbing with language rather so much than textbooks? That's the difference between the 9 and the 3rd, and that's where we've been having all of these jolts of eclipse energy over the last 18 months. Some of it's been really fruitful, some of it's been sort of like, whoa, what a surge of interest in my work, or whoa, what an incredible download that I'm receiving. I don't know how I learned this so quickly, but I tell you what, it's just coming to me. That's some of the experiences we could be having with eclipses in the 3rd and the 9th. Other experiences we could be having is, where in the hell am I going to set up camp? Where do I live? I don't know. I thought that it would be here. Negative, not there. I thought that it would be here. Negative, not there. I feel, and I don't want to be self-conscious about it, but where am I welcome? What village won't run me out of town? That could be a feeling that maybe has happened with these eclipses. It could be, I've got to get out of here. I need to move. I need to expand because I'm suffocating in my local environment. That could be something that's sort of swelling up as well. You can see how there's the different definitions of the houses, but also the different ways that this astrology might have been playing out for you. I know in my examples that I just gave you then what ones ring home for me. But Taurus in your third house of your local environment, of your neighborhood, of your village, of your access to folk magic and lessons through language. This is a new moon with no eclipse. So we get to ask for what we want. If we zone in on our environment and neighborhood, this is the moon for us that we get to make that list. We get to sit with the energy that's left on the planet because there will be no moon in the sky, as there never is on a new moon. And we get to ask for what we hope to see have happen in our village, in our magical practice, in our lessons that we receive via voice rather than via textbook. So I really like it. And I've got a couple of tarot cards that I want to show you that might sort of paint extra texture on this story as well, Pisces. So at 28 degrees of Taurus, this is where the lunation is happening. The tarot card for the last decan of Taurus is the 7 of Pentacles. Now, for some of us who have been planting and waiting and wondering and sowing the seeds and getting more and more persistently impatient with the lack of growth or the lack of the roots taking, you know, if there's no roots that have taken in that third house, there's been no village or neighborhood that has been like, yes, stay here, you belong here. I don't know about you, but I've had many experiences with the existence of black mold. Wherever I've gone, there's been a damp smell that starts to occur whenever I'm about to leave. It's always in some way. You can sort of trust things like that too. You can trust the natural world. As frustrating as it is to rent a place that is just rotten from the inside, you got to thank the mold for being like, get out. That's what it does. And so this feeling can be like, well, where to now? Where am I going to go? This is the moon that you can ask for it. And Taurus, the sign, takes it slow. There's no rush in these sorts of decisions. As fervently as you might be sort of thinking, God, I just want to frickin' land. It may have been a lifetime of you not quite landing anywhere too. That could be something that's showing up for you right now, Pisces. And at this time, you're like, oh, I didn't realize how exhausting that is. To be always at the mercy of somebody else's, some other landlord's purse, you know? That could be something where you're like, frick, okay, I'm tired. And I'd love to allow some of these roots to start growing. The 7 of Pentacles is like patience, my pretty, patience. Nothing that's for you is going to pass you by. You're a good person. You are thinking outside the box. And let's face it, Pisces, where you call home isn't going to be, in the eyes of everyone, a reasonable or sensible option. But that's not up for them to judge. This is you. You know where you want to go, and you know where you want to exist and how you want to exist in that space too. You want to be able to walk down to the shops and for everyone to be like, oh yes, there's the local witch. Yep, we love them. They're fine. They're good. They're good with dogs. They love animals. That's a nice sort of neighborhood vibe. You don't want to be living in a place where you're sort of like, maybe don't leave the house very often because it's easier if you don't. That's just one line of thinking. That's not my experience at the moment, but that's just something that came to me then. It will show itself to you. Nothing that's for you is going to pass you by, Pisces. One other thing I want to talk about, and then we're going to skip over to some other planets of interest, because there's a lot going on at this new moon, as there's a sense of clearing about it. And it's a great Taurus new moon that we've got a handle on that we haven't had since May of 2021. Was the last Taurus lunation that was in the clear with no eclipses. That's 2 years ago. But this is very specific, and you know, there's a couple of folks that I felt I've needed to say this. If you're my age, if you were born in 1984, so you'll be turning 40 next year. If you were born at the beginning, like the earlier part of 1984, you and I will probably have a Chiron placement much the same. Chiron takes about 50 years to go around the zodiac. So yeah, pick your moment in 1984. But specifically for kids that were born in the early 80s, the Chiron in Taurus placement we might have that in common. My Chiron is at 28 degrees of Taurus. Now this is where this lunation's playing out. And I find this really interesting because Chiron is the asteroid that points to parts in our nature, our makeup, that are wounded, consciously or unconsciously, and that need some extra support, some extra sort of like counsel about that sign and that house. You can see that I'm bearing wounds about loss and about lack. That's Taurus. A Chiron in Taurus placement is about those things, about perhaps worry of never having enough or not being able to produce, kind of standing over your work and going, oh gosh, I'm just not good at this. And so I need extra support with that. And I find that through conversation with folks that I love, and I find that through strategizing, working with the brain that I have, and getting my head around things like finances and things like, grown-up things like savings and, tax and all of that kind of stuff. But there's always this lingering feeling of like, I'm just not being very good at it. And this kind of feeling of like, oh, I'm good to go. I'll get out of here the moment that I feel unwelcome. You won't see me. I'm gone. That's the Chiron in the third house. This difficulty with the neighborhood or with the locale, always feeling kind of unwelcome. And some of that's to do with this conscious experience in this lifetime. I would hazard a guess that some of that is to do with experiences that I've had around the wheel at different times. It's hard to be the people that we are, Pisces. It's been very difficult. It's only now that there's like more acceptance about being focused in on the patterns of life. Long time there it was highly, highly, highly illegal. And so this fear of the village is something that might come up. That's just a very specific message for folks in their late 30s to early 40s. So let's move away from that. Let's think about the other planets that are ping-ponging each other at the moment too. So at this lunation, 28 degrees, we have the sun and the moon. At 0 degrees, entry into Taurus for the first time in 12 years, we have Jupiter, the planet of optimism and expansion, the one with the magnifying glass that's like, okay, yeah, let's look at this, let's strategize, let's figure this out. How beautiful that after this eclipse chaos, Jupiter's like, don't worry everyone, I'm here, I'm going to sort it out. I'm going to fix this for you. That's what Jupiter does. Jupiter likes to get involved and to sort of like point to the signposts of like, okay, well, let's do this. Let's expand on this. Oh, you enjoy that? Let's do this. That's really lovely. But at 0 degrees of Taurus, that forms a square with 0 degrees of Aquarius. Who's there? Pluto. Pluto, who is stationed retrograde, is still lingering at that final degree of Aquarius. And so for us, Pisces, that's the 12th house. We're good there. We're good in the 12th house. We're good at past lives. We're good at magic. We're good at talking to animals with no words. We're good at casting spells, all of that beautiful stuff that happens in the 12th. But Pluto is here bringing with it this sort of like procession of disintegration to be reborn. And so there's that in square with Jupiter in the 3rd. So I wonder if there might be a little bit of tension between what it is that you're capable of or what it is that you really want to commit to in this life and your environment. I wonder if you feel safe in the town that you live. That's a terrible question to ask, but I tell you what, 2023, can ask that of a lot of people. Do you feel safe where you are? Because there's some whack stuff going on out there, and there's all sorts of different prejudices that are sort of growing like cantankerous monsters out of the ether. It's pretty full on. That's a question that you can be really direct with yourself too. Am I safe here? Do I feel safe here? And if I don't, then is there ways that I can haul ass and get out of here? The other thing that's going, I'm going to show you the cards first. Okay, so this is Jupiter. This is 0 degrees of Taurus, and you can see, look at that. Look at that dejection. Unwelcome. I'm not welcome here. I don't belong here. This is what Jupiter's here to solve. You are welcome here, Pisces. You are welcome exactly where you are. And you have the right to engage in the thought forms and the practices, the creative rituals that you see fit. There's nothing evil about this stuff. There's a lot of people that will tell you otherwise. There's a lot of people with a lot of money that will tell you otherwise. But I'm telling you, as the broke-ass little witch from Frankston, it's not evil. It's actually one of the most beautiful, vibrant tools to set yourself free and to get off your own back and to have a bit of fun, to feel a part of something, to feel connected to something bigger than ourselves, and to a bit of history, a bit of tradition. You know, for folks like us, we don't have the privilege of a grand tradition of religion or a grand sort of spiritual practice because it was taken from us, it was stolen, it was shoved in the bin, people were killed. And it's only now in this sort of contemporary pop culture with, I don't know about you, but my gateway drug into this sort of stuff was friggin' The Wizard of Oz. Like, it's only now that we can, sorry to laugh, but I want you to ease up a little bit on some of this like latent shame, this internal unconscious shame, because it's, you didn't instigate that shame and you've got nothing to be ashamed of. I reckon there's a couple of other people in this life that got a little bit more to be ashamed of than people like you and I do. Let's face it. Subjugation and slavery born on the hands of the church, like, come on. There's a bunch of stuff, bunch of liberties that folks take when they get drunk on the sort of mantle of power that these grand structures of religion offer them. I watch people, so this is a bit of a tangent, but like I've watched people like be exorcised. I've watched people, and I believe something's happening. When you're in that kind of room though, it's pretty full on. Like there's spirit. We work with our spirituality, and in a throng, all sorts of stuff can happen. And it's to make these people feel grand and powerful, and it's to make the person that's being exorcised feel that there was something evil in them that was being extracted. I've seen it happen. I won't go into it, but maybe we can talk about it at the Sagittarius full moon. I've had experiences too where I was told that there was something in me, and there bloody wasn't. Bloody wasn't. There was my nature, there was my creativity, my sensitivity, my magic. Absolutely, that was in me since when I was born. Nothing evil about that. Not at all. That's a tangent, but there you go. Pluto, 0 degrees of Aquarius, 5 of Swords, drop the chop. All that stuff that I just said. Nah, forget it. I'm not playing this game. You can say this, you can say that. Yeah, collect those swords. You got a set of 5 now. What are you going to do with them? You got no one to sword fight with. We're out of here. This is the rejection that I want you to sort of feel kind of like powerful with. All right, Pisces, drop some of this shame. The third house, this feeling of welcome, this feeling of neighborhood. You're not to be ostracized. You're not to feel that you're a weirdo. Like you're like awesome, and you're doing beautiful work, and you're engaged in beautiful things, and you mean, like any of us do with any of this stuff, we're doing it to like offer some comfort and some support to other people that are having a hard time, and to like have fun. Magic is fun. It's creative. The act of creating, the act of making art, I reckon, is a bit of flippin' magic too. The last card that we've got here is the 5 of Wands. So look at that, 555, change. Things are going to change after this bloody eclipse nonsense. Sure, you may have had to move. Sure, there was like rejection from organised religions, or you know what? Sorry, I'm jumping all over the place, but I'm getting a bit PO'd. Some New Age groups and prayer circles and spiritual based practices, they hang a little prayer flag on it, and they're doing just the same thing as all the friggin' churches. You know which ones to trust, and you know which ones not to. All right, Pisces, and you're not to be rejected from any spiritual circle. You'll find the right people to talk to about this stuff. You'll find your place of welcome, and you're not going to be ostracized because of, I don't care if it's your gender or your gender identity, your sexuality, whatever it is, how much money you have, whatever it is. Sign on the bottom line, forget it, that's not what we're doing this stuff for. We're doing this, as I said, for love and peace and understanding. I think it's this Mars in Leo. I'm getting agitated, and the sand's gone, and I've got to hurry up. Leo is your 6th house, your rhythm, your daily ritual, also your health. I'm really going to say that to you loud and clear, Pisces. Don't stop. Don't ignore your body and what it's trying to tell you at this time as well, okay? But there's a fire that's entering your daily rhythm. There's no rut that you're stuck in, so get out of that idea in your mind. Mars is leaving Cancer into Leo, opposing Pluto, squaring Jupiter. The point is, Jupiter in the 3rd house is like, right, you are welcome here, mate. You are welcome here, my friend, just as you are. You beautiful, eccentric, creative, immature, childish witch. Have fun with your life, Pisces. We can't do anything else except have good friggin' time. I laugh through judgment. I laugh when I am told this, that, or the other now. I laugh when I am offended by someone's rejection of my physicality or my interests. I can laugh at it. I hope that you can find the power to laugh at it too, because that's a spell as well. Laugh it off. Doesn't touch you. All right, that's the reading. Strange reading. Let me know how it goes. Drop me a comment. Also, I can read your birth chart if you'd like. Head to umaruby.com and I will take you on a journey through fire or earth or air or water or spirit if you'd like to really lock into your Pisces rising and really come to understand what that means on a more esoteric level, then pick the spirit reading. You can tip me at buymeacoffee.com/umaruby, and you can sign up to the Sagittarius full moon ritual via the link in the description, and I can go into my journey so far and beyond, and we can come together and celebrate the full moon as a little coven. Much love to you, Pisces. Take care. I adore you. Let it out. Let it out. No judgment. Nothing can touch you. You're sacred, just as you are.